Dude, hell yeah, dude. I'm so stoked on this episode. Like I was going through everything today and I was like, "Oh shit, like I've hit like a good handful of bands from the label."
You
So,
have.
it's about time that I just sit down with the head of the Riff Mafia to talk about all this.
Hell yeah. I totally appreciate you reaching out, dude. Yeah, I've listened to all the episodes with all of my bands anyway that you've done
Right.
with. So, yeah.
Well, hell yeah, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm super stoked on this. We'll have a good time and hopefully find out a bunch more about Thumbs Up Records than people might not know about.
Yeah, I'm an open book. So, yeah.
Sick. I guess my only question before we fully start is, do you have a unopened beverage in front of you that you like to crack for this episode?
I sure do.
Hell yeah.
All
All right,
right.
so I'll count us in and
Okay.
we'll kind of go from there.
Cool.
All right, in three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This is a very special episode. This is more of a labels with bands. And I'm getting to sit down with the head of the Riff Mafia. I'm sitting down with Brady today. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. For people that might not know, Brady is the head, like I said, of the Riff Mafia, otherwise known as Thumbs Up Records. Thumbs Up Records is a independent label based out of, I think you're in Milwaukee now.
I am in Milwaukee now. Yes.
And, specializing in, I want to say, really just emo in general. A lot of the bands are all emo. Some are fifth wave. Some are, you have a little bit of them diving into a little bit of hardcore. But I mean, it's a stacked roster that you have. I gotta say, like everyone that's on there is amazing. If people have been tuning into the episodes, I've had, I think I've counted up to five between alumni and current roster people have been on the podcast. So I'm really stoked to be able to sit down with you today and kind of just pick your brain.
Yeah. Likewise. Thanks for inviting me.
Dude, of course. Um, so I guess, the obvious spot to start for people that might not know, Thumbs Up Records started in May of 2020. This perfect time, I feel like, to kind of start a new project because, we're all in a pandemic. We're all stuck inside anyways. What was the spark that got you to start the label? Because I feel like everyone that starts a label, they're usually like, they see that there's something missing out there or not just a label, but any project. And they're like, I need to fill that void. Like, what was that spark for you?
Uh, for me anyway, yeah, like you said, it was the middle of pandemic. So I was back home living with my folks, and I have friends from my hometown who are all in a band called Nosebleeds. And because they weren't working, they basically spent their entire time writing what would end up being the first release on the label, which was Field Experience. And they were showing me around the demos and whatnot, just because I was a close, trusted friend. Um, and I was like, this rocks. Like, we should put this on a tape. We should put this on a CD. We should put this on a vinyl. Like, we should do the whole thing, like a whole big rollout. And so basically, they're like, oh, like, that's really thoughtful of you. Like, do you want to do it? Like, do you want to front that money? And because I was working still during the pandemic, and I was saving all this money because I had nowhere else to go spend my money. I was like, yeah, well, I have, the funds to do it. So, yeah, like, I'll fund it, whatever. And so they're like, okay, cool. But cool. Like, you're ready to like help us with this next endeavor. But like, what is it going to be? And I was like, I guess I'm going to start my own label. And so did a little bit of research online and then just kind of been finding my way as I go. So yeah,
Dude.
for things of like missing wise, or like things that I thought were missing, I think it was more so just like a lot of like the bands that I really was enjoying listening to weren't getting the recognition that I thought they should deserve. and that really frustrated me. So, um, I mean, you can see it with a lot of the bands that I work with, or like, I find bands usually when they're pretty young, because I'm like, I really support this, and I know you guys can do good shit. Um, and then from there, it just blossoms into something super cool. So I think it's just more so like I just wanted to put my stamp of approval on some music that I really enjoyed. So
Yeah,
yeah,
dude. Yeah, like so, like you said, Nosebleeds was the first one, and I kind of went through, and like I, the nice thing about how you have the website set up is you can kind of see, you know, the whole list of everything you've released,
right.
which I feel like some labels, even like bigger ones, don't have it set up that way. So it's usually like, oh, you see that like it's released 43. It's like, okay, but like what came before that? So it's kind of nice that
Yes.
you have that in there, um, because then I actually, you know, to get a usually when I sit down with a band, I get the full feel of like listening to early stuff and making it all the way to present.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
So I kind of did the same thing with Thumbs Up. I went and listened to that Nosebleeds release, and then you know right after that was Honey Creek, and I kind of just made the way through the catalog.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, obviously, if one person goes to do that, you see a lot of Wisconsin bands. Obviously, you being in Wisconsin, it helps.
Yes.
But I feel like the nice thing about Thumbs Up, and like kind of how you said, you're showcasing the bands that you felt like weren't getting enough attention, and without like you know finding Thumbs Up, I would never have known that there's this crazy scene going on. Just, I mean, like 4 hours away from where I am or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, like it's insane how good like this whole Wisconsin scene is.
Yeah. It's been, I think the scene where it is right now, anyway, is the best I've ever seen it. Like touring bands are coming through, they want to play here. We have plenty of people who are like, in bands or involved in booking or, XYZ, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's so many people that are involved, like doing their part to make the scene what it is. Um, Not that we haven't had those people before, but like there's so much of it now that it feels like a super strong community, and there's always shows to go to all the time. And as somebody now who's a young adult, as a teenager, like this is the scene I always wanted growing up. So now that it's here, like it's chef's kiss. Like I will never take this, the scene that we have now for granted. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And then one cool thing, obviously, that you've done is also with the label and growing the label. You've excuse me, you've expanded. You're not just doing Wisconsin-based bands anymore. Obviously, you have like the others like us from Oklahoma, Ben Quad. You did some
The
work with Ben
homies.
Quad.
Yep.
You know, you've touched base on. I think Moose Creek Park is
Yep.
New York.
Moose Creek Park is works with me. Yep. They're from
Yep.
Long Island. Yep.
Yes. Like it's crazy, and like that's got to feel amazing that like you're able to connect just outside of your local radius with that,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. I mean, it was weird, at least at first, when bands from out of state started approaching me, being like, "We want to work with you specifically." Because like when I started the label, like it was just me helping out homies, like Nosebleeds, obviously, are a bunch of my high school friends, and then Honey Creek I've known for literally since they started being a band. Um, and like, yeah, I obviously have all the Wisconsin homies, but like to see bands from outside of my wheelhouse in a sense, like be like, we chose you specifically to work with us. Like you're our number one pick is insane to hear. And it still is because like I said, this label just started out just me wanting to help out friends. But it's grown into this thing where like people want to know me and work with me and be involved with Thumbs Up. And it's more than I could ever ask for, honestly. It feels really, really cool. So
Yeah, dude, I give you props for that because I remember like when this podcast started originally, I was still living in Iowa. The plan was I was just gonna interview like all my Iowa homies and just like see what happens from there. And then
yeah.
you know, pandemic kind of throws a wrench in everything, and I moved to Minneapolis. Um, so then I like started expanding, and it's crazy now being this far in where I have bands that reach out to me and they're like, no, we've heard of you. You want like our friends have been on. We want to do this, and I'm just like, why? Like, I'm just me. Like, it's crazy that anyone wants to do this, and it's amazing that everyone is reaching out to you to be part of Thumbs Up Records because like
Yeah.
it's such a sick roster, and I can't express that enough.
Thank you. Thank
Like
you.
how good it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's all bands that I've handpicked. So I do with that what you will, but I think, I mean, I love my roster too, but then again, I'm biased. So
uh like with your roster too, obviously, like you're handpicking them. Is there anyone, like, I'm not going to ask you like who's your favorite because that's a hard question to do.
it
Like
is.
they're
And I
all like your
appreciate you not
kids.
asking that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much because it's like choosing my favorite
Yeah.
child, you know? So I appreciate you not asking that.
My question to like in a different aspect of that like favorite child question is like who was one like what's one of the bands that surprised you the most, that either like reached out to you or like from early demos and like getting to final result? I know like we always see the excuse me, who are you, like the Mway dudes repped all the
Yep.
time. Like I remember when I first listened to that and like it blew me away. Like who was the band that did that for you that wanted to be on the
Yeah.
label?
Funny enough, it was Excuse Me, Who Are You? It was funny because like we weren't I didn't like how do I say this? I didn't really know them as people when I found their music, but like the homies and Tiny Voices kind of put me on and were like, yo, we've been playing with these like these people a lot in Madison and they're really good. Like you should like look into them. So I listened through Test Chamber a few times because that was the only song they had out at the time. And I was like, okay, like maybe I could see it. And then like a week went by, and that was the only thing I listened to all week. And I was like, okay, well, clearly there's something good here that I'm liking. So I got in touch with Kyle. We talked for a bit. And yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll sign y'all. Like, it'll be cool, whatever. Like another Wisconsin homie band. Why not? You know? And I honestly, to got like on like out on the table, did not think the EP was gonna be as well received as it was. And we put it out and it just like soared. Like Test Chamber got put on emo right now on Spotify, like Spotify curated playlists. And it was just garnering a bunch of streams. And then seeing them play their EP release show in Madison, and the whole room was like packed, and kids were screaming, and Kyle was like kicking and swinging, and I was like, dude, this is the band. This band rocks. Yeah, it was Mway for me for sure.
Dude, yeah, that EP blew up so fast. I think you guys sold out a vinyl real quick on it too. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
insane.
yeah. I am working on a little repress for that, so at least
Sick.
sometime this year. But we have other things to put out first before we think about the repress.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bug you about some of that stuff here in a little bit.
Okay,
But
right on.
it's good to hear that there's gonna be a repress because I definitely fucked up and did not get a copy the first time around.
Okay.
So I definitely need to get a repress. But
Yeah,
um, the cool thing is though, like that's not the first band I feel like that's kind of blown up with you like having some sort of touch or hands on it. Like obviously Ben Quad, their first EP blew the fuck up, and like what they're doing now is based off a lot of what that EP was.
yeah.
It's insane, and like to be able to have a hand in that is amazing.
Yeah, I don't take it for granted. Those dudes are still very good friends of mine. Like they were just on tour with Hot Mulligan. And I went to the Chicago show, of course, because I wanted to see my friends play on the big stage. Um, and yeah, they still, even though they're like big rock stars now, they like still took the time out of their day to like find me, and like we got to hang out. Edgar brought me backstage for the Hot Mulligan set, which was very sweet of him. He did not have to do that. But he was like, yeah, let's watch Hot Mulligan together backstage. And I was like, dude, like, you're the sweetest person ever. Um, so yeah, to see what they're doing now, and even me knowing sprinkles of what they're going to do in the future, like this is their year and they're going to be the biggest band ever. Which is why I'm very fortunate and very happy that I got to be a part of their history as a band. Yeah, awesome dudes.
Yeah, I was thankfully that tour came through Minneapolis, so I was able to see them And I can't remember what episode I talked about this on, but it was super cool to see them. Obviously, they opened the whole tour, but to my friends know Ben Quad because I play Ben Quad all the time, and
Yeah,
they came with me to the
absolutely.
show. And when I was there, I was like, okay, like let's see, let's like obviously they're it's later in the tour, like they got it. People are gonna know who they are, but to have as many people like sing along as they actually did
Yeah.
was just like mind blowing in the best way. Like I was so happy for them because like I was like, holy shit, like it's not just like me, my friends, and like a few other people that like know what's
Yeah,
going on.
like
It's like
they're a
everybody.
band now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah, when that blew up, like it was yeah, I was so ecstatic for them. I was like, yeah, I knew it. I was like, I knew it from the start, and you guys kept kicking yourselves, and now look at you. Like, this is crazy. And then we were like kind of working out a repress, and then all of a sudden they were like, yeah, we're gonna go over to Wax Bodega and they're gonna do the repress. Which was I bummed about it? Yeah, but like I want the best for the bands that end up leaving. So like they had a good deal with Wax Bodega. They got signed to them, and obviously the rest is history. So they're doing cool shit. I love those guys.
I think that with what you just said right there is a nice insight into like how you are as like a label head. It's yes, you are bummed that they're leaving to go somewhere else, but you're at the same time happy that they're progressing and growing. And you're not like,
Absolutely.
oh, actually, we're repressing it, like not like no one else
Yeah,
gets to
yeah.
do it type deal. Like that's
I
like everyone that's listening, pay attention to that.
yeah, it's I mean, I want the best for every band I work with. I don't want Thumbs Up to be any band's forever home, Like cuz in the end of, the grand scheme of things, I'm still a small DIY label. I do this shit out of my apartment like um yeah, I don't have a lot of money to throw around as it is as a label, so like if they can go get the bag as the kids say somewhere else, then go chase the bag, like get your money. So I just want to be at least a stepping stone in that process, just to be like, hey, I knew this band was good and now look at them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
uh with like okay, so kind of going back, obviously like we talked about, Nosebleeds was the first like release. I did look at like the original Instagram posts, 'cause it's all out there, and I saw like everything that you had marketed for that first drop. You had vinyl, you had tapes, you had shirts, I think tote bags, everything.
Yep.
Obviously, that's your first one. Were you just did you just have like all these ideas as to like, okay, this is first release, kind of just go big and get everything? Like, how did that come about? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a record collector, even as early as like high school. So I knew from the start if I was going to do a label, like most, if not all, of the releases I'm going to do are going to be on vinyl because one, I want it for myself to throw on my record player back here, um, and two, just like I don't know. I wanted to come out. Yeah, I wanted to come out bold. I wanted to come out swinging. Like, here's my new label, and we're doing vinyl for the first time because you don't see it a lot with new labels. Usually,
Right.
it's a bunch of tape runs and whatnot. So I kind of wanted to be like, yeah, I'm here, and I am here to make a statement. Like, this band is worth vinyl, and so you should listen to it. Kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then t-shirts and the tote bags kind of came about because the band was like, oh well, we should do like a shirt and a tote bag as well. And I was like, yeah, like why not, kind of thing. I'm always more kind of infatuated with getting the physicals made, because that's where I thrive and I love doing that stuff. Merch wise, like I can take it or leave it, but like the band wanted it, so I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. To rephrase an old saying, t-shirts are for now, but vinyl's forever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like
No, you're so right.
yeah, because you're gonna outgrow a shirt at some point, but to have a physical format of something is just kind of a nice to have. Um, are there any releases that like you kind of have to debate with yourself whether like I know, like we kind of said, you're vinyl head. You'd rather do, vinyl releases. But is there any times where you're like, I don't know, maybe a tape is going to be better for this rather than trying to get it pressed?
Yeah, sometimes anyway. A lot of the EPs that we do now, I kind of have that with because I'm like, do I want to spend 2 grand on getting a 7 inch made and maybe have it not like do as well, you know?
Right.
Also it's less songs, it's less, content, I guess if you want to put it that way. A lot of EPs that we do, I kind of have that fight with myself with. But if there's enough people where, as for instance, the M-Way EP, where enough people are like hounding me for it, where they're like, put this shit on vinyl right now and I will give you money, like it's kind of a no-brainer at that point then, because it's like, okay, well, like I know I can at least make my money back. And the band can like take some on tour and whatnot. So I do have that every once in a while, but it's mainly for EPs. Because I believe every band's debut record should get a vinyl pressing. That's like been a rule since day one. Like every debut record I will put out will be on vinyl no matter what. So
100%. It should be. It needs to, like, it's encapsulated in time that way. Like, it's such a
exactly.
big moment.
Yeah, right. It's a big moment for the band, and like it's a lot of like time they put forward into a project that's like, it's their first full length. I don't know. It's something I've always endeared a lot with bands putting out records. So yeah, I like to be that like helping point to be like, okay, here's your record, and like it's in its physical format. Um, that's another thing I love about doing this label is like getting to show bands their like debut record for the first time, and they get to hold it and they just like look at me and like cry, and they keep thanking me like, thank you so much, like I can't, like I never thought my music would be on vinyl, blah blah blah. It's very wholesome, but I love to do it. So
Now with like the colorways with like the vinyl presses, this is something that like has always intrigued me as to, deciding on the colorways for it, because obviously everyone that's fans of counterintuitive, they do crazy colorways all the time, and it's always
yes,
amazing. For Thumbs Up Records, who like is that kind of, do the bands leave that up to your decision of like, hey, you do you with the colors, and then we'll just accept whatever you come up with?
depends on the band. I've had some bands where they choose the colors and I'm completely okay with that. It's their record. At the end of the day, I want the band to be happy. And then there's other times where they're like, what do you think would be best? And then I usually throw out something and they're like, honestly, that's exactly what I was thinking. So let's do that. And then it's just like happy parties all around. So it can be a compromise sometimes. Other times it's, super easy. And other times I just let the band do what they want. So it's, yeah, it's like a 50-50.
Okay. Yeah, that's because like I see a lot of them and they're always so sick, and then like especially, not to just talk about Amway this entire time, but
I
uh
mean,
I did see that. So but like when you did the pressing for that, like because it's like a kind of like a tannish white with like the black splatter. I thought that worked so
yeah,
well for that album. Correlated so well with the cover. So like I just really loved that one. And then just I want to say like the early Ben Quad one was super sick as well. Like
yeah,
it's
the Coke bottle
and then
clear with like the beer in the middle of it. Yeah.
yeah, and then the Arnold Gun Club one, like that one is still probably one of my favorite like shades of that color to come out that way.
Yeah.
Like it came out so well.
That one turned out fantastic. I didn't think it was, I honestly was a little bit worried about that one because I was like, red and orange are very similar colors. But it like pops.
Yeah.
Which I was like very stoked to see when I got them in. So I was like, dude, these look sick. Like, yeah, I was very stoked on those. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, of course. So one thing, I don't know if it's a downfall or a benefit of COVID was, those nice stimmy checks that we got. A lot of those went into starting my collection. So I've also I also have gone down that rabbit hole of, building a whole collection of stuff and just falling in love with different variants. Um, so it's props for coming up with those colors.
Thank you. Yeah. like I said, it's sometimes it's like the bands are saying, or sometimes it's a collaborative effort, or sometimes it's just me. But I think in the end, everything that we've pressed on record so far, I'm really stoked that we did it. So yeah.
So jumping back into Thumbs Up Records lore, obviously started in 2020. Did the first release like we talked about was Nosebleeds. Um, like 2023 and 2022. I know those were two solid years. That's 2022 is when I was introduced basically to Thumbs Up Records. That's why I'm starting with those 2 years.
Okay.
And we're getting into the fourth year. But do you remember how it was like after that first year? Because I looked at like your 2023 end of year and your 2022 end of year of just like what you released, and like obviously it's grown, but like do you remember that first end of year of just like looking back and being like, holy shit, like this is everything we've done?
Yeah. Um, I think the first year, trying to think of everything I released in the first year. Nosebleeds. Oh, yeah. I think in the first year, because I forgot we had Guitar Fight in there as well. Yeah. Uh it was, yeah, I reflected on a lot of it and I was like, okay, like I'm 3 releases in and I'm off to a great start. Actually, no, we were 4 releases in at that point. My bad. We were 4 releases in. Um and yeah, every record I obviously have had loved. So I was like, I'm off to a great start. I think the Guitar Fight records had sold out already by that point, which was insane. Um, so I was like, okay, like I'm off to a great start. This is really cool. I want to keep exploring this. I want to keep doing it. It makes me happy. Like all around, it was like it was just, yeah, it was good all around for the first year. Um, Obviously I had some learning curves that I went through, but that's to be expected from somebody who, just up and kind of started a label in a month. Um, but yeah, it was really good. I'm very hard on myself a lot of the times, but I think that was a pretty proud moment where I was like, okay, I made it a year of doing this, and I had released 4 really cool records that I'm very proud of.
Dude, yeah, it's very commendable to start something big and daunting like this. Like you said, you really had to look up a lot of stuff to kind of figure out what to do and to how to start a label and do all this stuff. And it's I could, like I said, I commend you for doing that and like not giving up or not being deterred, because some
Thank
people
you.
could have had like a major problem with just like the first release and been like, maybe this isn't what I really signed up for. Maybe I don't continue going.
Yeah,
But you powered through. Obviously, like we said, Nosebleeds. I think there was Honey Creek, Guitar Fight, and then I
I
don't
hate
remember
it
what the
too.
fourth one is. I hate it too.
I
Yep.
hate it too.
Um, which yeah, looking back, like seeing like where those runs were, like because like I said, I did that deep dive on the Instagram, so I saw like where you posted like, oh, these are sold out or whatever. And it's amazing that it took off in the right way.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say on that year end. I was pretty proud of myself. So, and obviously I've had my moments where I've been like, man, I can't do this anymore. But like I kind of I dig myself in that hole, and then I come out of it with all my friends. They're like, don't fucking give up, dude. Like you got this. Like you're doing cool shit. Like keep doing cool shit. So, yeah, I've had my moments, but we always bounce back.
Yeah. And like I said, 2022 was another solid year for you. That one was the Ben Quad year, and then Emway was that year, and
Yep.
blanking on who else was on that one.
Aren't we
Um,
amphibians?
yep, Arlen Gun Club
Then
was
we
that year. Or was that were they 2021?
it was early that year. Yeah,
Okay,
that's when we put up. Yeah, it was Arlen and then Ben Quad, and then Aren't We Amphibians, and then we ended the year with signing Guac.
okay. And
Yeah.
then even 2023 was another solid year. You did two amphibians releases. You signed the others like us. Shout
I
out.
signed a fuckload of bands.
Yeah, like you. like the roster, like I can't, like I know I said this earlier, and I'm just repeating myself. I can't stress enough. It is so stacked.
Thank
Like
you.
everyone's favorite DIY emo bands in the scene right now have somehow been on this roster. It's insane.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think it's super cool. And they're all every band I've worked with are all like they're all my friends now, you know? So like I just know them as my friends, and then other people are like, dude, you know that band? I'm like, yeah, I worked with that band also. Um, and they're like, what? And it's so funny working at a record shop because people will like see the thumbs up record section, and like sometimes they'll pick out records from that section. I'm like, oh no way, like thanks for picking this up. And they're like, why are you thanking me? I'm like, oh, that's my label. And they're like, dude, I love this band. Like, you work with this band, you know this band. I'm like, yes, absolutely. So it's been cool for sure.
I think it'd be kind of funny or kind of dumb. I don't know. To me, it's kind of funny if you like put like a small picture of yourself like on the back and just be like, "It's my label." So like, you know how like the books have like the bookend where like it's the author on it.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
they flip it
yeah.
over and then it's just you, and you can just do like the same pose when they
Yeah, just
look back up.
the thumbs up. Yeah, that'd be super good. I'll have to look into doing that.
Yeah. Let me know if you do it. I'll be sure to get.
Okay,
I will get the first copy.
right on, right on. I'll let you know for sure.
All right. Hell yeah. You know we kind of talked like the start of Thumbs Up. We've kind of talked through the years. Like it's been a solid 3 years, and now we're approaching the start of year four. Once we hit May, um, like I said, you have a crazy lineup. You've sent out so many copies of records. You know, I've been following you on Twitter for quite a while, and just seeing like the amount of times that you're like shipping stuff out, or like when releases are dropping. Um, what do you see coming for 2024? I know there's some stuff in the works. Obviously, delve into
There's
what you
a
want, but like,
Yeah, there's a lot in the works right now. I think going into 2024, and like I've been reflecting on this a lot, at least in the month of January, because like I think this is the year where things are really gonna take off. Like things have been going very great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like this is the year where like myself and the bands I work with are going to like skyrocket, and it has me very excited, but I'm also kind of very scared about it because like now like always like being a DIY label, like things have always been super chill, but now I feel like things are getting like real in a sense, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna have to start doing like actual business taxes, and like because it yeah, shit's just getting super super real, but that's really exciting because a lot of the bands I work with are one putting out records, or they're playing these really cool festivals that like I never thought I'd have like a band on my roster play. um Big tours are happening. Like it's it's a really exciting time, at least for myself and the bands that I work with. um so yeah, I think 2024 is going to be my biggest year and our band's biggest year yet. um like I said, I'm sitting on a bunch of records right now, and there's a bunch of festivals being in the works where I know certain bands are playing different festivals, and I have bands that are recording full length records right now, or recording EPs or splits or what have you. um yeah, it's a very exciting time for me right now.
I'm very stoked for 2024 for Thumbs Up Records. You know, I know just because they've been posting about it. I know Emway's working on some new stuff. You know, Garden Home. I've been waiting for this record because they hit me up right when that signing was about to happen, and they were like, "Yo, we're signing the Thumbs Up. We're releasing a single, and we have like an album in the works." And I was like, "Yo, let me know when it's done, and I have a spot." Like, so I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for my time for them to be ready to have them on, and then I'll be up 6 bands on the Thumbs Up roster.
Cool.
You know,
Yeah,
just work my way up.
guard home dudes are the chillest dudes you ever meet. Yeah, I don't even have the full record yet, just to be totally transparent. I have half of it at the time of us recording this. But the other half is being finished. So I will have it soon, and I'm very I mean, from the songs I have already, it's fucking awesome.
Dude,
So
hell
I'm
yeah.
very excited for people to hear it. And yes, Emily does have an LP in the works. So
Um, before I get to what I just thought of, my one question, since you know you're talking about like how a lot of the bands are going to be on these fests that are coming up, with the label, how involved are you with like their booking and stuff? Are you just kind of like, hey, I'm just handling like the day to day and like the pressings and stuff, and then you guys got to figure out your own like tours routing, or do you have like in your thumbs up pyramid like a booking department?
sure. I wouldn't call it a booking department per se, but if you know the people at Summit Shack, like
Yeah.
Connor and Ellie, and okay, cool. Connor's been a huge resource for me in booking wise, because Connor has an entire spreadsheet, and I'm talking an entire spreadsheet of like every DIY contact in America. I swear to God. Um, so a lot of times bands will be like, "Hey, like we're having trouble on this, like booking this day, or like booking this city. Like, could you help us out?" And usually I'll just send over like the DIY contact spreadsheet that Connor has shared with me, and I'm like, use this to your best of ability, like go crazy. And usually that works things out. I've booked a few things here and there. If bands are really like having trouble, then I'll use like myself as the label to be like, hey, like my band needs a date in New York City, like put us on. But otherwise, usually like I let the bands kind of take care of that, just because I'm a one person show right now still, and I have a lot to do with doing the label stuff. So a lot of the bands kind of do their own booking, but if I can help out, I certainly will.
Okay. Hell yeah. Yeah. When I more like said quote unquote like booking department, I just figured you put on like a different hat for that. It's still I figured it was still you, with just like a different like, hey, it's
Sure,
booking day,
not
like it's
not
booking Brady.
completely, not
Okay.
completely. Do I want to venture into that? Probably soon if I can. But otherwise, I'm usually just using Connor from the Summit Shack as a resource. Shout out. I fucking love Connor. So
Yeah, I finally got to meet Connor when Ben Quad came through Minneapolis, so that was super nice
oh,
to.
that's right, because Connor was their tour manager for that
Yeah.
tour. Dude, Connor's I I can't say enough good words about Connor. Connor's awesome.
I've never fanboyed over a tour manager before until that time. So shout out Connor. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it felt like a big moment in my life to finally have that meet. Um, I know we kind of talked about like, well, hinted at like some of the releases that are coming up. Um, I don't know if I should ask this one because it might give away a little too much, and I can
You
always
can
cut
ask.
this as well.
I'll tell you if I can't give anything away.
Okay. My only question was going to be what are you most excited about release wise so far this year?
Oh, um, I mean, I've already thrown it on the table, but MY LP1, um, I've been listening to it every day. Like, I think this record's going to soar like an eagle. I'm very stoked on it. I think they've been playing a lot of the songs live in their live set currently. So I know people who have seen them live in the last like 3, 4-ish months have heard some of the new songs. Um, and a lot of the reception to those songs has been super stellar. Um, so yeah, I'm as of right now, that record I'm really excited about. I'm excited about signing a few new bands. I'll keep it
Okay.
at that. Um, and then like the festivals, of course, because a lot of these festivals that some of our bands are playing, like I've wanted to go to since I was like a teenager. And now one or two of my bands are playing said festival, and like I'm being invited out to come with. So, um, yeah, I'll say those are the things I'm very stoked for. I will
Yeah,
say, if I will make my statement here, Mway LP1 is my like crowning jewel right now. So not to like discredit any of the other
yeah,
thumbs up bands, but it's the record I'm the most excited about putting out because I think the reception is going to be insane.
yeah. And for all the other bands that are tuning into this to listen to the Godfather of the Riff Mafia, what he's meaning is that's his favorite right now. That means y'all got to bring the heat and keep it pumping.
That's true. That's so it's so funny because bands will actually like it's like competitive, but it's like given the whole like riff mafia thing, I feel like there's this always this playful element with everybody in the label who are trying to out riff each other. And like a lot of the time, like in our big group chat, like people will just be sending riffs back and forth just to be like, look what I did, look what this is, like check this shit out. It's so I love it. It's great. It's playful competition, but at the same time, each band is pushing each other to be the best they can be. So,
Yeah,
and I
and
think that's really
that's the cool part is that like they're not taking it personally. They're like, oh shit, like they just did this. Like we are good enough to also be there, and like we kind of want to one up them as like a family member is trying to one up you or something like that. Like
yeah,
that's the cool thing.
exactly, exactly. It's very wholesome. It's very sweet. Yeah, I love to see it.
Uh, and then I got to know because like obviously you guys been you know like saying the Riff Mafia. I feel like for at least the last year. How did that come about? Like where was that origin story from? Like the shirts
Yeah,
for it are sick, by the way.
thank you. Dylan from Honey Creek made them for me.
Oh
So
hell yeah!
shout out to Honey Creek, shout out to Dylan. The Riff Mafia thing came about shortly after we signed Bicycle In. Shout out. Basically we signed them and I feel like it was the day after we had signed them. I feel like that's when Bicycle In actually was like, okay, so like we're on this label. So we should actually like probably check out all the other bands that are on this label and like like at least listen to the music like fully. Uh Bicycle In had tweeted out oh man, what is it? Hold
I
on.
think it's
I'm
the
gonna look
header
it
on the
up.
Twitter, isn't it?
It's the header on the Twitter. That's why I'm pulling up my phone right now. Yeah, they just tweeted the at Thumbs Up Records family is a Riff Mafia. And I texted Noah, who sings for Bicycle In, and I was like, dude, this is so funny. Like, this is hilarious. I love this tweet. And he was like, it's true, dude. Like every guitarist on this label is a fucking shooter. Like bar none, you signed the Riff Mafia. And I was kind of like, that's good. I really like that. And like I kind of took it as a joke from then on out, but I feel like the more I like joked about it, the more it became actually like a part of the label's identity. And so yeah, and now it's just like part of the identity where people are like, oh, you're Brady, you're the Dawn of the Riv Mafia. And I'm like, that's me, that's me. So I think it's a good I think it's a good tagline for the label at
Oh yeah.
least.
Like
People
I
see
feel like
Riff Mafia and they want to see like what that's about.
yeah, like it like puts you a little bit apart where it intrigues people enough where they're like, I guess I should check out at least some of these bands to see what this whole Riff Mafia thing is. And like when I was going back through everything, I was like, oh yeah, no, like it's fucking here. Like there's every band is fucking riffing super hard. And like
Good,
it
good. I'm
works.
glad it holds up.
Yeah. Uh oh, I had something, but I lost it, which is okay.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah. No one will know. Well they might if I leave this in. Who knows? I left it in. One cool thing that you also have been doing, I and correct me if I'm wrong, if it's whether whether it's like in part with Thumbs Up, you also have been doing Homie Fest, um, out in Milwaukee. Like, how has that been? Like, because obviously a lot of your bands are on that fest because you know it hand in
Yeah.
hand it works out. But those I've been seeing the lineups for those the past couple years, and they're always so fucking stacked.
Yeah. Homie Fest kind of came about because it was I can't take credit for it. I basically was asked to join the Homie Fest committee, which is very sweet of everybody who is in that committee to ask me. But basically, it was Kyle from Excuse Me, Who Are You, and then Louis from Tiny Voices, plus Arthur, who plays in what's the band called? Mio. I'm gonna butcher this, and I'm so sorry, Arthur, because I know you're gonna listen to this. It's like Mio Mino Mio, something like that.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, Arthur does a shit ton of booking in Madison, Wisconsin. And Arthur's a homie, always has been. So yeah, basically Louis, Arthur, Kyle, and then our friend Jack, who also lives out in Madison and works for like the Majestic Theater and like works with like a lot of big touring bands. So it was basically the four of them at first, and the whole idea was to like bring a festival to Milwaukee where every like local band could play together and like get to know each other, and it was like a really nice kind of like sense of like community of like getting all these different bands from Wisconsin together to like to get to know each other. And what's the term I'm looking for right now? This beer is hitting
Uh,
me.
dude, I feel you too. Uh, network.
Yes, thank you. To
Oh,
network. Yes, you got it. Thank you. So yeah, that's how it started. And then the the second homie fest we had out in Madison was so good. Like we were like, okay, maybe we could like, elevate the festival to like having like touring bands and whatnot. And so when the time came around for amphibians to come out and tour in the Midwest for the first time, we were like, yeah, like we're gonna do a skate park show. We're gonna do the skate park. So we had amphibians and equipment, of course, and then we had Cinema Stare. We had Carpool, who those two were touring together. And then of course we had like Mway, Tiny Voices. We had like the local hitters. Um, I feel like I'm definitely missing a band that played that show. Oh, Stars Hollow. Stars Hollow came back and wanted to join that show. And yeah, like it all just fell together so nicely. But yeah, Homie Fest has been really cool. It's like opened my eyes to a lot of like what the booking world can be. And it's really intriguing to like be a part of that circle because it's a lot of what I don't deal with a lot of the
yeah.
time, as I mentioned previously. So yeah, Homie Fest has been really cool, and I've met a lot of really nice bands like through doing that as well. So yeah, it's been sweet.
Yeah. No, I love everything about it, and I love um like the original thought behind it because that is kind of something that I wanted to do with the podcast. So I've been hinting at it. By the end of this episode releases the second Friday in March. Either by the end of this month it'll fully get released, or you'll
Sure.
just hear it right here. But
Yeah.
because I'm booking a show. I'm coming out of booking retirement. I'm booking the first Beers with Bands showcase in Iowa City.
Yo.
Um,
Okay.
so mainly because like I'm originally from that area, I'm gonna be home anyway. So I figured I'd get all the Iowa homies that have been on the podcast together, try and get some out of state bands. But I want to do something similar to Homie Fest, but in Minneapolis, just because a lot of the bigger tours don't come to Minneapolis. Oddly enough,
Yes.
like Heart Attack Man, they for like the last couple years they've been on constant tours.
Yeah.
The tour that they did with Hot Mulligan was the first time that they actually, as my knowledge, since they fully blew up, have come to Minneapolis. So it's been kind of dry around here. So I want to like start doing something from the ground up, getting all the DIY bands together, and then trying to get all these like the touring DIY bands to come through at the same time at some point. Um, so it's nice to see it works so well, and it like gives me hope that something like obviously there's a lot of planning behind it, uh, but it gives me hope that I can maybe wrangle something together for Minneapolis at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I recommend it for anybody who has a local scene who wants to like do something similar. Like just do it. Like just reach out to any band you see in your local scene who you think would like pull people or would like vibe well with each other. and just put them all in the same building for like, I don't know, 10 hours, like 8 hours, like eventually people are going to run into each other. People are going to see other people play music and they're going to be like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And like, they're going to get to talking. And then from then on, like, it's a contact in like a band's book, of course, but like also you make friends along the way. And I think that's what's super beautiful about it.
Oh yeah, like that's. I mean, obviously, you're running the label. I'm doing this podcast. That's been the best or coolest thing is just like all the connections that I've kind of made. Because like I mentioned, originally this podcast was just going to be like kind of like a local thing, and then I started branching out, doing bands from fucking everywhere, meeting everyone on DIY Twitter, and like just becoming friends with everyone. That's how I met Emway, went through there, became friends with you, and just like it's all just keeps growing and just having those connections for anytime you need them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've met so many people like already through this label who I thought I would never meet in my life. Like I got to like go meet Jake from Counterintuitive like a few months ago, which was like huge for me. I want to emphasize that like Counterintuitive has been my entire high school discography. So for him to like reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I want to like sit down and like have dinner with you, and then you can come see Oso Oso play." Like I never thought I'd hear that in my life. And for Jake to do that was one, very kind of him. Thank you so much. And two, like super important to me because I got to hear Jake basically be like, I like your label. Like Thumbs Up is doing cool shit. Like you remind me a lot of like myself when I was starting Counterintuitive. And then to hear that was like, dude, I could do this. Like I could actually fucking do this. So shout out Counterintuitive. Shout out to Jake. Um, yeah, you meet people along the way of doing these things, and like it gives you like hope for like the future. It's really great.
Yeah, yeah. When I saw you post that you were sitting down with them, I was like, okay, uh, this is amazing. Because like normally we're all like, I feel like all of the people in like the DIY like feel like we're all just like on our own level, and to have
Yeah,
like Jake come from Counterintuitive and be like extend that olive branch is like a huge thing, and like it's amazing that they took the time to support you and like have like want to sit down with you and like talk about whatever, but like major props, like that's amazing.
thank you. Yeah, Jake's super cool. Like I mean, we have each other's phone numbers now, so we just send each other music all the time. It's awesome. Like if you told high school me that one day I would just be sending like rough mixes of my band's music to Jake and he would be sending shit back to me, I would tell you to shut the hell up because I wouldn't even hear it because I'd be like, there's no way. No way. And now here I am in 2024. And I'm like, dude, I have Jake's phone number. Like he's my friend now. It's crazy. Nuts. And that's not to discredit any other label that I'm friends with because I love every label that I'm friends with. So um shout out Refresh, shout out Really Rad Records, shout out Chillwave. Um I'm definitely missing some labels. But Reply Guy Records, I want to shout out Reply Guy Records. They're brand new to the game. And they're great friends of mine as well. So
For and I love that you brought them up because I also wanted to bring them up. For people that aren't aware, Reply Guy Records literally at the time of this recording, we're recording beginning of February. They're like 3 days old,
yes.
if that. And they're going to be doing tape runs coming up. If anyone's like looking or has an idea to like start a label, what from your experience of not having like someone like guide you through and you trying to have kind of going through all the hurdles yourself, what is something that you would say to them as to like what advice do you give to them?
Yeah, totally. I mean, first things first and foremost, I would say do your research on like if you're I mean, granted, if you're starting out, you're probably doing tapes, maybe not, but if you are, like research either where you're gonna get your tapes made, or if you're gonna hand dub them, then make sure you do it well and make sure you do it right. Because if they're not right, you're gonna get a lot of complaints from customers. and you don't want that on your back. Two, like get involved. Like I don't care if it's either with the DIY Discord or on Twitter, on Instagram, like wherever you can like get knowledge from other label heads, do it, because that's something I wish I would have done. I wish I would have been bold enough just to like reach out to like Counterintuitive or Chillwave or like even Refresh, like, and just like ask for advice, because a lot of people who run these labels are the kindest people ever. And you don't really get into a label, or at least into running a label, I feel like being a mean head, because you have to work with people. You have something very delicate, other people's music in your hands, so like you have to treat that with respect. And basically, my overall arching uh point here is to like get involved, talk to label heads, do your research. um I feel like those are the only 2 points I feel like you should need to like do a label. Like, yeah, like do your research and then just like get advice from like other people who have been doing labels for a minute, because they will give you so much advice.
Yeah, that I feel like that's really good information because, like you said, if you would have, had the courage to like reach out to someone, it probably would have eliminated some sort of hurdle that you could have like got around. I know when I was kind of doing this, or at least starting a couple different aspects, I tried to reach out to some people, just because I was like, I know other people are doing the same podcasting, similar to like me. They had to have gone through some sort of this or that just to kind of figure out what to do next, rather than trying to deal with it yourself and like spending so much time and frustration just to overcome that, where there might be a simpler solution to kind of get around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's yeah, I went through a lot of hurdles in the early years. So yeah, I would, if you're thinking of starting a label, I definitely would recommend. I mean, reach out to me. Like I will gladly give you my advice, or any of the other labels I previously mentioned. Like all those people are super super sweet, and want to see other labels succeed as well. So we don't want to be putting out all of the cool music, you know. So we want to support each other as well.
Yeah. I did remember the question that I was going to ask a little bit ago. Uh,
Yes,
is everyone knows of the Riff Mafia as just being the bands and you, but there's a cool thing that just started, and people can basically kind of become a part of the Riff Mafia on Discord. There's now a Thumbs Up Records Discord,
there is
that is going. I know at the time of this, I think if you hit, I can't remember what number you said, but you're gonna
500.
500. You're gonna start doing some giveaways for test presses. Hopefully, by the time this episode comes out in a month, uh, you'll already be way past 500. But what can people that are going to join the Discord like get out of it? Like, what can they expect for it?
Yeah. I think the point of the Discord was basically just like the label is an extension of myself, right? So I guess I really wanted to start the Discord just because, like, I mean, I'm pretty online for the most part. I'm sure I mean, you can find me on my personal Twitter, the Thumbs Up Twitter, my personal Instagram, yada yada. You get it. I think the Discord in itself would at least allow people to like see me as like a person more so even than like just like the label head. Because like I love hopping into like the voice chat, late at night. I just love shooting the shit with like people and friends and like getting to know other people. Um, and because like I said, I feel like the label is an extension of myself. So if people are gonna like give me money for like, you know, records or tapes or whatever of bands that they love, I want them to know kind of like who I am as a person, just because it feels not like wrong or weird, but like I don't know, it doesn't almost sit right with me in a sense of people giving me money without knowing me. And maybe that's just like capitalism at its at its finest, but um yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Discord I just wanted to like interact with a lot of the people who really enjoy the label. And I want to interact back with them to be like give my thanks and then also like, just hang out, just shoot the shit, get to know people. So yeah, I would say that's what the Discord's about.
Yeah, I love the it's like the thought of Discord, but like because I've had a Discord for a while. Like I used it a lot originally when I was like trying to do like battle gyms for Pokemon Go. Like there's a Twin Cities like Discord for it, and then like then they started like the DIY emo one. I hopped in that. Discord is just one of those beasts that I've never been able to tame. With just like even though I do this podcast, I should be online on Instagram or Twitter all the time. I feel like I just get so caught up in the like just I can't think of the right word. Just like basically just lurking and like scrolling all the time.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's a lot.
Yeah, and going into Discord and just seeing like constant notification just like gets overwhelming. And like
Yeah, yeah.
I give so many props to everyone that can handle Discord. Like it's one beast that I would love to tame. I know I've talked to someone about possibly maybe doing at some point like a little Beers with Bands thing in a Discord, but like until I get over that like fear or hurdle, I don't know when it'll happen.
Yeah. No, I get it, dude. I mean, social media, it's like, yeah, it's a huge like gray area for me. Because in the sense, like, I don't want to be online all the time, but I kind of have to be with the label. Granted, I take my breaks every once in a while, but like, yeah, with the label, I pretty much always have to be like ready to go at a moment's notice. So I totally understand where like that hurdle kind of comes from because Discord is a whole other beast.
Yeah. I do want to give a quick shout out. This is more just like a drunk thought. I do want to give a quick shout out to everyone that appreciates or likes my drunk tweets more than like my normal tweets because they're fire anyways. So I appreciate that to everyone.
Hell yeah. Shout out to you.
Um, one fun question that I want to ask, and this probably like it might be a deep question is obviously you have your own roster, you have your own like set of bands. We're all seeing what all these other labels are putting out and doing. Is there any I don't know how I want to word this, any band or release that you've seen recently that you're like, damn, that would have been sick on our label, but you're still happy for them being with
Oh,
the label that they're
yeah,
on?
yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, uh last year's Roscoe by Inner Love. Fuck, dude, I wish that was on Thumbs Up. I wish that was on Thumbs Up. I wish that I Want to Live My Life by Stars Hollow. I wish
Ooh.
that was put out by me. I wish New Game Plus by Palette Knife was put out by me. Um, I mean, fuck, yeah. There's sorry, can I swear on this podcast? Am
Oh
I
yeah, you're
good?
good. Yeah, we drink beer.
Cool.
You're good to cuss.
Right on. Cool. Yeah, I wish there's a lot of records that released last year. I wish I could have put out. Obviously, like I'm from the moment I wake up till when I go to sleep, like I'm always listening to music no matter what. So I'll leave it at those three though. Or Arm's Length. God damn, I wish I could could have signed Arm's Length. But yeah, I'll leave it at those four. Like all great records. They all made my end of year lists. Really great bands as well. Or Kerosene Heights, dude.
Oh yeah.
Kerosene Heights or Casper Fight Scene. Oh man, I kick myself every day for it because I've had emails from those bands personally where they're like, "We want to work with you," and I've left them on red because who knows why? I'm a busy person, and then they sign a no sleep, and then I'm like, "Oh shit!" And then I see them live, and I'm like, "Dude, these guys are fucking awesome." Which shout out to both of those bands. They've been very kind to me whenever I've seen them around in person. I mean, the first time I saw Kerosene, they were wearing a Riff Mafia shirt. So I was like, holy shit, that's so cool. Like those guys are the homies for sure. Um,
I will
yeah,
say
sorry.
just I will say off that point, I think the nice thing about like everyone in like the DIY scene, even though like Kerosene is kind of signed to No Sleep, which is I don't know if they're No Sleep. I don't consider like fully DIY, but the nice thing about this scene is, like you said, you miss out on those emails. I do that too. Life happens, things get crazy, but they're
Right.
still like cool and like like there's no animosity about it, and like that's the thing I
Yeah,
love. That's
not at
why I love
all.
Kerosene Heights. They're amazing, by the way.
Yes, they're fantastic. They're fantastic people, fantastic music. Yeah. Both of those bands, like I've seen live and I've been like, you guys are awesome. And they're like, dude, we emailed you like months ago and you left us on red. And then I like, of course, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, dude, it's fine. It's whatever. Like shit works out, you know? But do I still kick myself for it? Absolutely. Both of I mean, the new Casper EP and the Kerosene Heights LP, so good. I mean, I have the Kerosene LP in my record shelf because of course I do. It's so
Yeah.
good. So yes, to make a long story short, there are plenty of records that come out on other labels that I wish I could have put out, but I'm okay that they're not out on me because they have homes with other labels. Does that mean I wish I put them out? Yes, it does.
uh, yeah, yeah, everyone's found their own home and it's worked out, and at least it's not being like slept on in the end of things. It's
This
out
is
there.
true.
Everyone can listen to it. Um, they've all put out amazing things. If any, like, I don't know if I want to ask this now or later, but like, if anyone is like, let's say, like the next Kerosene Heights or like the next Casper or the next Stars Hollow or someone, like, how are you finding them, or like how if they want to contact you to possibly work a deal, like is there anything that you're really looking forward to add to your roster?
Um, at this point, no. Excuse me. If Yeah, I feel like the roster I have at this point is really nice. I love my roster. If there is a band that like I want to add to the roster, it's usually because like I am shown them by a friend or because someone else on the Thumbs Up roster hits me up personally, like via like Discord or like my own phone number, and it's like you need to check this shit out right now. Like this is my pick for your next signing, kind of ordeal. Because that's kind of what's been the like I or not the ideal, but like been the normal for the last like I don't know year and a half is like it's usually other Thumbs Up bands being like this is your next band and you need to pay attention to this band, and then I go and listen through it, and usually at least 90% of the time I'm like this is awesome, like where did you find this? And then they'll tell me XYZ, and then like I'll get into talks with a band, usually through that. Sometimes it is certain circumstances in life like where I can't like sign a new band. um but yeah, the two new bands at least that I'm talking to currently as of the time of recording this, like have come from like bands or friends of mine who have been like you should really be paying attention to this band because they're really cool. So yeah.
I'm very stoked to see who's coming next, because I mean right now, looking at the roster, not including the two alumni that are on there, you're sitting at like, I think it's like, if I do this right
I
in
think
my
it's
head, I think
13 right now, 13 or 14.
yeah, which you're like we kind of said, you're a one man show on your end, to handle that many bands, whether you're touching on each one daily or not, that's still a lot to handle. And then you're adding two more to that, like major props for handling all that. I can barely
Thank
handle
you.
like my shit by myself just doing less than that on its own.
Yeah.
But then I'm also very, very stoked to see who is getting added to the Riff Mafia, who has made the cut basically to be a part of it.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, yeah, going for the two bands that I'm talking to, yeah, I mean, they would fit very well with the roster, which is why I feel very comfortable having them. But also like they're both very great bands. So like, and I just can't pass up on it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's such good additions to the Riff Mafia, like I cannot refuse it. So if it runs me into the ground to have those two bands, then so be it.
Would you say that you made them an offer that they couldn't refuse either?
Um, for one, yes. For the other, I hope so.
It was more
So,
that was more of a deep cut the Godfather joke because you're the Godfather of the Riff Mafia.
oh, sure. I haven't seen The Godfather, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, totally flew over my head.
Okay,
Sorry about
it's okay. It's okay. I'll let it pass.
that.
But no, that's that. Like I said, I'm super stoked for those announcements to come at some point this year. Um, before we start to transition, I just want to make sure also that because we've kind of bounced around a lot. When
We
I
have, yes.
Yeah, when I messaged you earlier and I said I was eating something before this, I had 5 Oreos. That's all I had before this. So, uh, like 2.5 beers deep, like I felt it hard. So I just want to make sure we hit everything about Thumbs Up Records that you feel comfortable with, or if there's anything that I missed, like I want to make sure we hit it and get it covered.
Sure. Um, I feel like you got most of it for the most part. I mean, yeah, it started when I was 20, and then it came into something more. Um, I do want to shout out Honey Creek in a sense because that was the first, I think that was the band that really took me under their wing and showed me what DIY is. Um, and those people have been my friends for since I was like 16. So that band has a very special place in my heart. Um, and the fact that they're no longer going to be a band is super super sad for me, but I'm glad I got to be a part of their history. And I guess I just want to shout out Honey Creek and just say go listen to their record. And who knows, if you like it enough, we'll repress it because we don't have any more of those records anymore. So yeah.
Uh, yeah, definitely R.I.P. Honey Creek. They were super fun to do the episode with, and I was so happy that like shortly after doing that, well at least us recording, like they came through and played here in Minneapolis, so I was able to at least see them perform. And they were all super sick and super nice and amazing, and it definitely threw me for a loop when when everything was ending. So
Yeah,
um,
they're great people. I mean, I've toured with that band. Like I've been in a band for like 2 weeks to like 3 weeks with that band. So like I've gotten to know those people very well. Um, and like I said, those are the people that took me under their wing and kind of showed me like this is what DIY is. This is what DIY touring is like. Like this is what we do to like try and like keep the music alive kind of thing. And that's the band that like lit the fire, at least within me. Sure, Nosebleeds was the first release on the record label, but Honey Creek was the band that lit the fire under me to like do what I do now. So I want to shout them out personally.
dude, hell yeah. Well, like he said, everyone's looking for more Honey Creek. Bug this man to do another repress. That way we can get a little bit more Honey Creek out into the world. That way everyone knows about it. As we start to transition to the lighter half of this episode, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking all these episodes because I'll definitely do that for you. But I know you have a beverage in front of you tonight. What are you
I
drinking on
do.
this fine Sunday?
I am drinking the double dry hopped Imperial IPA from Lakefront Brewery called the Hop Gods. Um, for those who don't know, I also, my day job, because I have to fund the label somehow, still at a DIY stage, right? So I work at a record shop down the street from my apartment called Lilliput Records. It's like the local record shop down here in Milwaukee. And I also work at Lakefront Brewery. So this is the Hop Gods from Lakefront Brewery. It's a 9.3% ABV IPA. And I will say that Dylan from Garden Home and Sam from Snag are my managers at that job. So it's a nice little music hub of and like beer world as well. So yeah.
Dude, hell yeah. I think that might be one of the highest ABVs that's
No
been drank so
way.
far. Yeah,
Really? No one's
I think
drank like a
so.
cocktail or like just
I
like
mean,
straight like whiskey or anything like
there's
that?
been a couple people that have done like I've done a rum and coke on this. There's been a couple people that have done mixed drinks, but like I don't know if I like technically this beer's the band's like yes you can drink those. There's no stipulations, but I
Okay,
think
so you're saying the highest ABV for a beer.
yes,
Yes. Cool. Cool. I'm glad to have that crown. The Riff Mafia and highest ABV beer.
yeah, dude, you just taking them all. Someone's got to try and beat it, but you know if you cross the Riff Mafia, I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know either. So
For this episode, it definitely got switched up. I know my man Brady's already knows what's coming, but I got a Colt 45 for this episode. Um, you know, went to the liquor store with $40, walked out with a 30 rack of hams and a 24 pack of Colt 45. Can't beat that.
that's what's up. Can't beat it.
Yeah. So, uh, also I was just like, do I do PBR again? Like for every episode? Like, gotta mix it up, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, but you know, that's the little beer segment. Now we're gonna kind of get into the last half of this episode, which is always the fun part of the episode because like we're already both kind of buzzed. We're both loose. Uh,
Absolutely.
this is where we kind of talk about some fun stories from your time of music, whether they're shows, tours, time recording. Obviously, there's Home Fest stories, like you said before we I think started. Like you've toured some. Like as I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between. Uh, way I like to think about it is these are the time to tell the stories that you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the best ones
Mm,
to that we all love to hear.
yeah. All right. Which one do you want me to go with first?
Uh, let's start with a good one, and then we'll work our way to horrendous if you want to do that.
Okay, sure. Um, I'm gonna say probably the best time touring I've ever had was with that. Wow. Oh my gosh. Was with Honey Creek. Excuse me. Sorry. Um, was with Honey Creek. We did a East Coast tour in December of 2021. Yes, 2021. Um, and we took like I think it was like three days or 2 days. Either way, we were on the tour. We started in New York and we worked all of our way down to Florida, and then we would shoot up to Louisiana and then to Tennessee, and then we just went straight back home from there. Um, but when we were in Florida, we took a few days to go to Disney. And so we got this like Airbnb in a nice gated community. Like it was in a gated community. Um, all of the Honey Creek girlfriends had like flown down to like meet us there. So when we got to the Airbnb in Florida, we were all like tired and sweaty and smelly and gross because like we hadn't had a shower and like
Yeah, you've been
I
living
don't
in a
know.
van for a few days. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, once we got to the Airbnb, it was like party on. Like there was a pool, there was a shower, everybody had a room to sleep in. Oh, it was fantastic. Probably one of the best times of my life. I brought my film camera with me on that tour too, because I was doing like photos and I was doing merchandise. Um, so yeah, I took a lot of really great pictures from that weekend that we had in Disney and then also in Florida. So yeah, we just got super trashed and like swam in the pool. And if you want to see the photos, they're on my personal Instagram. I'm sure you can find them somewhere, at least online even. they're great photos. I love those people. They're awesome. Trying to think of other shows or anything else. Um, I will say another story I guess I could say about Honey Creek is the first time I saw them. It used to be at this spot in Milwaukee that was called the Skater Boy Mansion. And basically it was the old singer for Honey Creek. It was like him and his roommate's like house. Um and the first time I saw Honey Creek, the bill was Belmont, the Weekend Classic, who used to be like a pop punk band from Indiana, Honey Creek, and then what were the other two bands? Waterfalls, who used to be this old kind of like shoegaze band, but a lot of those members now play in Big Laugh, which is like a hardcore band that signed to Revelation Records,
Yeah.
and this band called Pay Up, which was like my homie Sam Barnes and like a few of his friends. They just did like it was pretty much just like straight edge, like hardcore, but they weren't straight edge. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, like it had that like vibe of straight edge, but they were not straight edge kids at all. Um, but yeah, that show was like, I mean, it was my first like DIY show in Milwaukee, like truly DIY show where I saw like touring bands play in a basement, and I was like, this is really cool. But during the Belmont set, because the floor was so slick, like it was like a tiled basement, and so some kid like slipped in the pit, and so he slipped backwards, and then his friend behind him grabbed him by the back and like whipped him back up onto his feet, but he whipped him a little too hard and he like shot him up in the air. And there's, I mean, it's like a DIY basement in like fucking River West. So there's like exposed ceiling tile, and there's just this metal beam that's hanging above the ceiling, and he just like bang, like knocked his head against the beam and just like knocked out cold, just like on the floor. Um and Dylan from Honey Creek was like, oh shit, like this kid's passed out in my fucking like at my show, like what do I do? uh yeah, what a time that was. Yeah, I think Dylan ended up taking that kid to the hospital like himself to like make sure he was good, which is very thoughtful of him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think about that night a lot, where is like my introduction to like touring DIY, and like this kid just knocked out cold in like a pop punk like show
Oh my
floor.
god.
Yeah, so
That's
funny.
fucking insane. Yeah, I thankfully like my time going to like DIY, like especially like basement shows, was never like that. I specifically remember like going to the Quad Cities in like I think we are on like maybe the Illinois side, but we saw my friends were playing with dowsing, so I got to see like dowsing in
Yeah,
like a basement. But it was also one of those times where like it was super weird because like not a lot of us listen to dowsing except for like I think that one hit song Amateur Cartography, where they talk
yeah,
about being
yep,
in a basement anyways.
yes,
So like that song popped the fuck off, but like the show was still great. But I remember some guy being like, I only know one song, and I'm like, is it this one? He's like, yeah, and I'm like, don't worry, that's
yeah.
all I know too. um but yeah, experiencing a DIY basement show is for the first time. I wish I could repeat that in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was 15. I was gonna say I was 16. I wasn't, because I couldn't drive at the time. I was 15. Um, and my friend like asked me if I wanted to go, because she had her license at the time. And I didn't. And it was like also, I'm gonna for context, I'm gonna just put this out there. Mom, I'm so sorry if you're listening to this. But basically, she was like, do you want to go to this show with me in Milwaukee in this like basement at River West? And I was like, yeah, I do, absolutely. My parents were away in Mexico for like a vacation, and so my grandma was watching, like what watching us for the week. And so I told my grandma I was gonna go sleep at my friend's house. And then I like snuck out, and she like brought me to Milwaukee to see this show. And then like I came back later that night and just like slept in my own bed. Obviously, I just like snuck back into the house. Um, but like I'm glad it happened. You know, like again, sorry, mom, if you're listening to this, but um, yeah, like it was like one of the most like memorable, transformative moments I've had in like music because like that's what got me to where I am. So yeah, that's another really good story as well. Um, horror stories, if you want to hear those, I have a few of those as well. Same tour where I was with Honey Creek for that East Coast tour. The first thing that was horrific that happened was we played at this like so we were in Georgia and we played a house show, which sounds cool, right? But the house that we played at was like under construction.
Oof.
It was really weird. And like the guy who owned it was like this like shell-shocked veteran in a sense where like he was like, yeah, man, like I've killed people in like Iraq and like we were just like, whoa, dude, like okay, like that's crazy. Like we didn't really know like what to do, but like because he was like hosting the show, right? It was technic well, actually no, it wasn't his house. He was the one who was having it under construction, so it technically wasn't even his house, which was like also very weird. I was like, you're hosting a show inside someone else's house that doesn't even know that you're doing that because this house is under construction. It was so weird. And then basically that guy like ended up being like a huge transphobe and like said a bunch of really fucked up shit to us. And we were like, yeah, we're fucking out of here. So we left and we felt very yucky after that show. I will say
Jeez.
that. Yeah, that was rough. And then I will say on the way to Florida, good old Sam or Slam, as other people might know him, um, we stopped somewhere between the Florida Georgia like borderline because we were all hungry and we stopped at like a Little Caesars. So we went in there. We were like, hey, like we're hungry, obviously, right? And they're like, oh, like well, obviously they could tell they weren't that we were not from around the area, given our Midwest accents. And so they're like, where are y'all from? Like, you ain't from around here. And we were like, oh, we're from Milwaukee, like we're a band on tour. And they're like, oh shit, so y'all probably trying to look to eat cheap. And we were like, yeah, definitely. Like, well, we have all this like quote unquote expired pizza in the fridge, or like not in the fridge, but like in the like heating case, if you want to call it that. You know what I'm talking about? Like shit they
Yeah,
put
like
the
the
pizza.
warmers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we were like, I mean, if you're gonna give it to us for free, that's free food on the road, right? So we, like me and Sam, I'm vegetarian, so me and Sam decided to split the veggie pizza together. And for context, too, Sam eats like almost healthier than I do, even being a vegetarian. Like Sam eats like fruit and like kale and like I don't know all this other shit that like I don't eat. Um, and that pizza ruined Sam's body for like the entire Disney trip. I mean, personally, I felt awful because I was like, dude, I split this pizza with them and I feel fine. But Sam is over here dying on the Airbnb couch and like can't even like muster himself really to get up to go to Disney. Like I felt so bad. He did it. He got up and went still, but he did not feel good about it.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah. So shout out that Little Caesars in Georgia for possibly giving my boy Sam food poisoning. Um, oh man, what else? I don't know. I don't really have many horror stories. A lot of my times from touring and like traveling out to festivals have been really nice. Like Coachella last year was like one of like the most memorable moments of my life thus far. I
Yeah,
think that was the moment where sorry, go ahead.
you have a trading card from Coachella. Like they
I
made
do.
one of you.
I have two of them now. Speaking of which, hold on. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Because I have it. right here on the good old lanyard still. So yeah,
Like,
this was the Coachella one, and then they gave me one for Swordfest too, which was really sweet of them.
yeah, that's
So
amazing. Like, that's for everyone, like, you know, either label wise or band wise. That's like, at least for me, like that's a goal to like get
yeah,
a card from Coachella of
absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest things I have like in my apartment. Honestly, I love having the little like lanyard trading card stuff. Um, but yeah, I feel like Coachella was the first kind of festival or like even like live pop up that I did where I was like, okay, like I'm making a difference in a sense, like with the label, because a lot of people were coming up to me like naming me by name, be like, "You're Brady," and I'd be like, yeah, like I'm sorry, like do we know each other? Because I had never had this interaction with strangers before where people knew me by name, but I didn't know them. And they're like, oh yeah, like we've never met, but like I love your label. I love all the bands you work with. I love what you're doing. Like keep it up. And also let me buy like a few records and a shirt. Like so cool. Yeah, like that was I think that was like kind of the turning point for me was that Coachella. Because I was like, holy shit, I'm like actually doing this and people like know me and know the bands, they care, which I never thought anybody would. So yeah, I'll throw Coachella in with those stories too. Um, I don't think I have a specific story to tell from Coachella, but overall, it was just like a fantastic festival. I met so many people at that festival that I now call friends. Like, shout out to the homies in sign language. That band's super sick. I got to meet a lot of the bands I work with for the first time. Like Guac, Smoke Detector, Moose Creek came and played.
How
Because and
how weird is that to like say that that's like your first time actually like hanging out with them and them being on the label. Like, obviously, like Moose Creek Park is from Long Island. They're not in the Midwest. You sign them, they're on the label, but the first time you actually like are really fully hanging out with them is at a
yeah,
fest in
I
a
mean,
different state.
it's like it was cool for sure because we both had obviously had like known each other because we like had talked online and like via text message and whatnot. But like to see them in person, I was like, dude, you're like real. This is crazy. Um, but yeah, to see and even to see like a lot of those bands play live. Oh my gosh, dude. There's nothing better for me than seeing my own bands play live because like it lights something in me where I'm like, dude, I work with this band. Like this band is like mine in a sense, you know? I love that feeling. And yeah, I definitely had that feeling like a lot of the weekend seeing like the Guac and Smoke Detector battle set, the Moose Creek set, even like I mean, I've seen Emway and Tiny Voices like a million times at this point, but like those Coachella sets were so special to me because like it was the first time I feel like I had seen those bands outside of Milwaukee, like playing to a bunch of kids who knew the words and are pitting and are screaming and are like going nuts. Like, yeah, that whole weekend was very special for me. So once again, shout out to the Summit Shack crew. Um, Coachella this year is about to be super sick. I can't wait for that to get announced. There will be a few thumbs up bands playing that as well. To which ones are playing, I'm not gonna say, but keep your eyes peeled for Coachella 7 because I will also be there again. So
Dude, hell yeah!
yeah.
One of these years, I'm gonna finally make it to Coachella. Obviously Coachella 6 was in October. Coachella 7 is happening in June, and I unfortunately
Right.
have stuff going on around the same time.
No, really?
So
Oh, it's so
I won't
sad.
be able to make it to this one. Like, I also like I felt like I paid attention to Coachella starting with like Coachella 5, and then saw that one, saw Coachella 6 in October, and then I was like, okay, if it's in October, maybe I can make something work. And then I think they posted like it was happening in June, and I was like, I have to go home in June, and then that's now when I'm gonna do like the Beers of the Band show. So like it's not gonna work out for me to like drive all
Oh,
the way to Ohio to be there for it.
yeah.
But one of these years, I'm finally gonna make it out there, and we'll Beers of the Band is gonna have a little thing going on for it for sure. But like I'm gonna have serious FOMO again this year of missing out on it.
Yeah, it's a pretty great lineup this year. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to kind of veer off from this kind of topic that we have because I want to ask you something personally.
Yeah,
But you live in the Twin Cities, right?
correct.
Cool. I used to live in Duluth, which is like 2 hours north of you.
Yeah,
I moved back to Milwaukee now because this is my home, and I was getting very homesick living in Duluth. But I did live in Duluth around the time that you were like interviewing Ben Quad and like, excuse me, who are you? And a lot of the bands that I worked with. So I was like, dude, like, I wonder if I'm going to see this guy at a show one of these days. But like you were saying, like the Minneapolis scene is so skipped over for whatever reason. Which sucks because like I loved going to the Twin Cities. Like I would go there to record shop. I would go there for shows occasionally. Um, but yeah, like I just wanted to say like we live pretty close to each other. Like at a certain point in time, and I'm kind of sad that I missed you while I was living up there.
dude. Straight up, when you made the big move back to Milwaukee and you posted about it, like I think I'd already been following you for a while, and then you had made the post about like you're moving back, and then that's I think when I realized that your at least the thumbs up page said like Minnesota, Wisconsin on it, and I was like, shit, this he's been in Minnesota this entire time, and then I realized you said Duluth, like you mentioned Duluth in some post, and I was like, okay, it's not like we were like possibly passing by each other all this time,
Yeah, we weren't
but
neighbors by any means, but we
yeah,
were we were cities apart.
but for sure I was like, damn, that would have been cool to like at some point have cross paths. Um, I do want to like anyone that's listening from the Twin Cities, I do want to state like in the cities there is a crazy scene going on. Is when I say that there aren't like the bigger shows or DIY shows, it's more I'm talking about like the DIY touring bands or like the emo bands coming through isn't as happening as much. The cities has a crazy scene, but yeah, that
Yeah,
when I found out that you were literally, the next big city over, I was like, shit, like, yeah, we could have crossed paths at some time. Now you're like on the other side of Wisconsin. But
yeah.
we have to get together at some point
I'm
and
sure
meet
we
up.
will. I mean, I'm looking to tour more this year. Now that like I've solidified moving back to here. And I have two solid jobs. And I obviously have the label as well. So I'm looking to tour more this year. So maybe one of those tours will come through the cities, and I'll see you then. But I don't know. I just wanted to veer from that topic a little bit and just tell you like we were pretty close at one point. So
Yeah, no. Yeah, I definitely remember that and I was like, damn, almost had it. But we will for sure get together. We'll figure that out.
yeah.
But but yeah, like, we'll get together. Hopefully one of these days I make it to Coachella because I need to, especially after like I fanboyed in front of Connor. I need to do that probably in person at Coachella to just complete full circle.
Right.
But this isn't a Coachella podcast because Connor I already talked to about possibly doing one of those. Uh, you know,
Oh,
you know, it's out there. I gotta probably
cool.
rework that one because it's been a little while. But anyways, dude, Brady, like I can't stress enough how solid your lineup is. Like the roster that you have accumulated and like put together and like brought in is amazing. Like not just the Wisconsin scene that you've showcased, but bringing in like Riley, Moose Creek Park, the others like us. Touching on Ben Quad, you've worked with American Beauty, which is also from Long Island. Like everyone has been so solid of a group and a band to work with, and like you're just doing amazing things, and I'm so excited for the future of Thumbs Up Records and just to see what 2024 looks like and beyond.
Thank you, dude. Yeah. I'm excited for myself. It's like I said, I think 2024 is going to be the biggest year yet for myself and the bands I work with. So yeah, I'm really itching to get the ball moving on getting some of these records out, but it'll happen soon enough. And I think people are going to be very, very excited to see what myself and the bands have to offer for this year. So,
Dude, hell yeah. Before I let you go, I know we talked, some tour stories, whether they were good or bad, but I always like to leave these episodes off on a very high note. So my last question for you before I let you go for this night
mm-hmm.
is from your time running Thumbs Up Records, what has been your favorite moment that you always look back on?
Ooh, wow. Okay. Man, there's a lot to pick from. Um, I think the one I'm going to choose because I think about it a lot and it makes me emotional like thinking about it is once again it was the Coachella set from Excuse Me Who Are You, where it was like me. I mean, obviously there was a good amount of Wisconsin homies who were there playing the same Sunday. So I know it was like myself, all the Honey Creek friends were there, all the Tiny Voices friends were there, and then a lot of the Thumbs Up bands who have just been like around like this like family of bands who like I've accumulated have were like in the same room. So in a sense, it's a Thumbs Up family like room full of other people as well who are enjoying the music of Excuse Me Who Are You. But I remember when um Mway and closed their set with Test Chamber, and the room just like exploded, and there's kids crawling over each other. There's kids screaming in Kyle's face, like it was like unhinged chaos. But I just remember like once that song ended, everybody had kind of at least everybody in the Thumbs Up family kind of looked at each other and was like, "Holy shit! Like that just happened. Like this is the next band." Like they're like look at this room full of people just like sweating and crying and like and like me and Kyle had a moment where like we hugged and like we both cried. Like I was like, I'm so proud of you. Like that was so sick. And Kyle was just like, I can't believe like anyone even gives a fuck about this band. Like, thank you for believing in us. Like such a moment where like I was like, okay, like this is making a difference. Like people like know Mway, people know Thumbs Up Records, and like granted how like people find out about each other, Thumbs Up or Mway or any of the bands on the label, like either comes from me or the band of drawing people into a community where like I don't know, people can just have moments like that where they can release and like express themselves and um yeah, super super tender moment that I look back on very frequently. So yeah, not to keep gushing about Emway, but
Yeah,
I do love those very much.
Emway had their own episode. Like if we gotta gush about them, they can come back on. You
Yeah.
guys know where to find me. But no, I much love Emway. Like they are amazing. It's awesome that you got to experience those moments, and I hope those moments keep growing and keep experiencing. Hopefully, if I ever have you on again, we don't wait another 4 years, and I get to hear more amazing moments that happen. You're honestly, dude. Like I can't, and I don't say this lightly. Like you are Thumbs Up Records is probably like one of my favorite DIY labels doing it right now. Like there's
Thank
literally
you.
like a top five in my mind, and you guys are like one and two. Like you get like Thumbs Up Records is fucking killing it. Everyone that's on your label is amazing. I'm so grateful for getting to cross paths with a lot of them and have them on, and then lead to crossing paths with the Godfather and like having you on, and this has been a fun buzz drunken time, and no better way to spend a Sunday. But if anyone's looking for merch, music, or Thumbs Up Records in general, where can they find it?
You can find it at thumbsuprecords.limitedrun.com. Otherwise, I have a link tree in all of the socials, which are all just Thumbs Up Records. That's Instagram, Twitter. Um, I have a Facebook, but I don't really use the Facebook Thumbs Up. Yeah, and then if you want to join the Thumbs Up Discord, it's in our link tree as well, which are on both of the socials, like I was saying. You can come hang out in there. Maybe you'll find me on a Sunday night, uh, having one of these, and I'm feeling pretty loose, and I might even leak you a few things in the voice chat. Who knows? Um, but yeah, for all your thumbs up needs, thumbsuprecords.com/limitedrun.com. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on, dude. This was really good.
Yeah, no, this is a great time. I'm so happy we finally got to do this. For everyone listening, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, or Twitter, however you sit on that fence. Um, I I have one friend that calls me out every time when I call it Twitter, so I gotta like put both those in there. Threads, or you watch the YouTube version, got to see Brady's lovely face like I did tonight. Make sure you check those hyperlinks. Follow Thumbs Up Records on all the socials. Be ready for those 2 new signings this year. Be ready for the new albums to drop for that we know of so far for Mway and for Garden Home, and
Mm-hmm.
those bunch of question marks that would be in the description right here for those ones that might be coming out still this year, and looking for everything beyond. Catch Brady, just doing his Brady Thumbs Up Records thing at Fochella. Be ready for Homie Fest this year. Are you guys doing a .5 or just doing a regular Homie Fest this year?
We're gonna do Homie Fest 3 this year. It's slated for fall time, so where it's gonna be yet we don't know, but it's in the works for sure. Yes.
Oh yeah. So be ready for that as well. I think Homie Fest has a Twitter dedicated to kind of all that.
They
I'll
do.
try and put that.
We also have an Instagram as well for the Homie Fest.
Okay.
So you
Hell
can
yeah.
follow Instagram or Twitter for Homie Fest. It's just Homie Fest WI for both of those links.
Hell yeah. I'll try and put those in the description. Make sure you follow those. I know last year's lineup was amazing. Like we kind of talked about, this 2024 is, I'm sure, just gonna blow that one out of the water.
It's gonna
But
be sick.
yeah, but overall, go follow Thumbs Up Records. One last big thank you to Brady for taking your time out of your Sunday to sit down with me, have a beer, and just talk about Thumbs Up Records. I appreciate the fuck out of that, man. Like I appreciate you. It's been a great time.
Yeah.
And I'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Cool.
See ya.
Peace.
With